building virtual training, right? Virtual training really isn't going away, folks. I don't think a lot of people probably do think that anymore, but it's now another mode for us, another way for us to design and develop training. And it shouldn't necessarily, our virtual training shouldn't basically be like, hey, it's classroom training done on Zoom, right? I think we went through that as an industry. We went through that pain point or that time period, like right at the beginning of the pandemic, where it was like, hey, we had a 6-hour new hire classroom training we were going to do. Now it's 6 hours on Zoom straight through, right? So I think hopefully we've moved past that and realized it is another mode that is similar to instructor-led training, right? They both have instructors, but one's being done virtual, different environments, different things that we can do. So this is kind of my rambling intro to say we need to really think about virtual and how we design and develop directly for that versus the classroom. And I thought today I'd show you a little bit of the tools that I use most of the time to do it. Not that scripted today, but that's what we're going to go with. So let's get this started today. All right. So happy Friday. Happy day before a long weekend, right? This is exciting stuff. But like I said, today I want to kind of really concentrate on, how we can make virtual training better. And let me take that back. We're not going to look at how we're going to make virtual training better itself. I want to show you some tools and things you can look at that may inspire you to, inspire you to figure out how you want to build virtual training to make it more appealing for your audiences. As always, please let me know, if you agree with things, you disagree. If there's things that you think are must use, put them in the chat. Let us see. I'd love to get everyone's viewpoints. What I'm going to show you is not the be all end all. It's just currently what I'm using. So, with that, I want to kind of set the groundworks. For me, the biggest thing I find happening within virtual training is what I call the stagnant screen. And so the stagnant screen being that, think about it, you're sitting in a Zoom meeting, you're sitting in a Teams meeting, someone's sharing their screen, they're sharing and I think the stagnant screen happens more when people are sharing their slides, but it's like you see the slide on the screen and that's it. Or maybe, you have the gallery over on the right? So because I made here's my little example, right? Like you're looking at a slide, right? And the person's talking and they're talking and maybe they're not showing their camera and all you're seeing is the slide. Or they're sharing their screen and there is a little bit, you can see the gallery, but they're not spotlighting themselves. They're not taking care of some of the features to show themselves along with the material that they're projecting, right? So what ends up happening is we sit on this screen forever, right? I couldn't, that my really bad PowerPoint that I purposely made, I couldn't keep it up there anymore. But that's the idea, is we're on a page and that person may be talking about that screen about that, or talking while that PowerPoint is up for 5-10 minutes and nothing changes. And you're just looking at whether it's a PowerPoint, whether it's a chart, whether it's, something on their monitor, and that's it. And what ends up happening in these situations is someone goes to their phone, right? They're like, oh God, this is awesome. I'm still looking at the same thing. And they're looking at their phone. They're looking at their other monitor and they're checking the scores from the game before. Or they're shopping on eBay or whatever it is. There's the idea that you can control what you can control, right? And is there ways within Zoom, like you can set up so if someone's talking, you can go into the gallery and you can spotlight them so as they are talking, they're showing the majority of the screen? Absolutely. I mean, there are phenomenal features in all of these virtual platforms to make it easier for people to see what's going on. But now we got to make the assumption that that your participants know how to do this, right? Are we doing training to get them up to use on how to use Zoom or how to use Teams so that they know how to do this? And then we're going to make the expectation that they do know how to do it or they're going to do it. So take out engagement, take out effectiveness. Just, for me, one of the best ways to keep people's attention, other than, just general good looks, and that's not on my part, but, general good looks and humor, would be screen movement. I have a son who's got ADHD. And one of the things I do is I figure if I can keep his attention for a certain period of time, I'm doing well. And so that's why I'm using stuff where I can pop up, like the name, right? Or I put up, hope this isn't going to become a train wreck. And I'm popping things up and onto the screen. Or, if I laid out my agenda, which this is last week's agenda, but it goes right onto the page, and I'm able to have physical movement on the screen that someone's looking at, right? Should we build in physical movement like, hey, let's take a 5 minutes, get up, let's do some activity or just stretch or whatever those things are? Absolutely. But we need, I don't want to say constant movement, but you need lots of movement, activity that's happening on the screen. So that being said, how do I go about doing this, right? So what I figured I would do, we're going to look at a couple things. I was actually playing around. I was talking with Jeff Nelson, and if you guys haven't had a chance to connect with Jeff Nelson on LinkedIn, you should. We were talking about, he was showing me what he's doing with the program Mural to create virtual training, and it's pretty awesome. And it's more than pretty awesome. But one of the things he was talking about was, having the ability to project what was on your phone or things like that. And I said I'd look into it. It's something I wanted to do, but I haven't done yet. But what I did do is I set up my phone. Here, let me pull this over so you can hear better. I set up my phone as a second webcam today, right? I've got my mic. You actually can see my office, which was our family room. But I figured I'd give you a little tour of what it looks like and what I'm doing here. So let me grab this. And sorry for the shaky cam. All right. So, well, first, here's the office. There's the actual fish tank, right? And if we turn around, and sorry for making you go, one thing, movement, probably don't want to make people super, nauseous and sick like I just did. But so my current layout, if I can figure out, I'm trying to look at what's being fed and what I'm showing. But yeah, so I got 3 monitors, and there's my Kool-Aid. But, I'm using 3 monitors for ease. I have 2 Apple, they're Keylight Airs by Elgato. And what's nice about those is I can position them. I can do a bunch of different, let me switch back over here. So it's not just, I can go through, I can position them, I can control them. I can turn up the brightness or down the brightness depending on what's happening in my, with outside. Because if you saw, there are, and here we'll pop back out. I've got 2 windows right in front of my desks. So because of those windows, that's not the one we wanted, folks. That is, depending on what it's like outside, I could get really bright or I may not. So I use, obviously I have coverings on those to make things work a little bit better. But so I have that 3 camera, I have 3 monitors. And if we pop back here just so you can see, for a webcam, I use, it's called an Elgato webcam. And you're going to actually hear, I use a lot of products by a company called Elgato, but I use the webcam. And the reason I really like this webcam is that it's strictly a webcam. Eventually I would like to get to using, let's say, a mirrorless camera, like actually have like a camera, maybe even have like a teleprompter around that. And you have a lot more control over image quality and how things are zoomed. You can have fixed zooms, things like that. Just gets a really nice look. But the Elgato camera, and here, I pulled up some stuff about it. Let me pop over here so we can see. So, it's not inexpensive. It's not. But it's full HD, so 1080p, 1080p. You can get up to 60 frames a second. What I really like about it is you're paying a good, obviously you're paying a higher end money. There's no microphone in it, right? One of the things you're going to, as you do this, and you probably have already learned, your microphone, if you're coming through your webcam, it's going to be really bad quality. You want to have a different type of microphone. So if that's the case, why am I paying money for my webcam to have a microphone in it? I'm not using it. Put the money that I put into the webcam towards a better webcam, which Elgato does. So that's the one I use and I really like. Other things that, if you didn't see, and this is one that we're going to spend a good bit talking about, is I use the Elgato Stream Deck to pop around and flip between monitors, right? So right now, if you see this button, and actually let me flip this so you can actually read it better, make it where it's readable. You'll notice it says phone cam, right? So when I push this, it switches to my camera view, that's phone cam. But if I press Office, it brings me back to here, right? So we'll come back to, I'm going to click on phone cam again. If I click on the way I monitor, I called it my left monitor, GB for glassboard, I pop over to what is, let me come back here, my left monitor. And what I've ended up doing is I'm basically laying my camera feed that I've stripped out the background. Obviously, you can see there's a little bit of pixelation around me. But I've laid that, I've put that as a source behind me, or my desktop is behind me. And then I've put my camera feed that I've made smaller and stripped out the background, and I've laid that in front of me. So this is how I can jump from my office, right, to my desktop, to other things. I'm using the Stream Deck, right? And if I go and I push other buttons, other things will happen. So in reality, I actually use two Stream Decks. I started off with one, and I got the 16. And what's nice about it is you can go through, the buttons are all programmable. You can set them up to do exactly what you want them to do. And you can have folders within there. You can tie them to specific programs. I can actually get to another screen of buttons if I need to by setting that up. So you've got a lot of control. But what I found is there's certain things I always want to jump back to, right? Like I always want to be able to go to my office, or I want to go to my desktop, or I want to come back to what's now, this is going to be a new one, right? The phone cam. If I could hold this right? Come back to the phone cam. I could do any of those things. And I want that capability at any point. So by doing that, I've set up one Stream Deck that it always has that information. And that's my smaller left-hand one. But then the ones that I want the capability to do stuff on all the time, I've gone in, and so I ended up getting myself a second one. And these, I'm able to set up and change these however I want each and every time, right? So when I went and clicked, right, when I wanted to have my, I'm going to call it the Zoom, I called it the Muppet Zoom, right? I'm able to pop over here, and I'm now into my Muppet layout, which this is the one downside of doing these is you have the ability, it's like, what could I do? How could I get my point across, right? And I really, I take learning and development seriously. I take my job seriously. I still want to get my personality across, right? So it's like, what would I find funny, right? So this is where I come up with this. And to be honest, I want to do more with this. when building these things, I don't have a huge amount of time for each one of these, for each one of these live sessions. But how awesome would this be to do so when I built this, right, I did this actually in PowerPoint. I created an image in PowerPoint. I then created all the shapes for what is going to be, my nine webcams in my gallery. And then I found images and I brought them in and I sized them to the boxes that I laid out. So everything fit correctly. These need to be videos, right? This needs to be like Beaker, if I can point the right way. That needs to be Beaker, like actually lighting them on fire. And again, not that it's the be all end all of training to say, hey, look, Beaker's on fire during my virtual training, but it's memorable. And not memorable, it captures people's attention. And that's the point, is that for me, I want people to be able to I want to capture their attention. So that, what's going to happen next? What am I missing? All right. So let me come back over. I know I see some questions have come in. So let me show this. Scrolling topics used judiciously, but not so much to be a distraction, like on the news channels. Yep, absolutely. This is, if you like that feature, something you can definitely set up. We're going to pop over. We're going to show OBS, which is the tool I use to kind of it's the brains behind everything of what I do. But the other one I use is right now, when I broadcast these live streams, I use a program called Restream, or other people use a company called StreamYard. And you can set up so how I have your chat functionality. I can pop things up like this and then turn them off. And so you could have that as scrolling text as well. So what I really like, and I think this is why I get so excited about virtual, it's like the Wild West right now. Like, we get to shape it how we want it to be and set the tone of what it could be or what it can be. All right, so let's see. Meg Bay, this is helpful stuff, Pat. Unfortunately, I have to leave. Sorry, Meg. These are recorded. You'll be able to watch it again on LinkedIn or on YouTube, so you can always come back or just let me know, and I'm happy to, we can always set up time. Thanks for giving me a tour of your studio. Only reason I could do it, my wife is not here today. If she knew I went around and you could see like the chair that the dog lays in, right? Like, let's go over here, right? There's the dog's chair. That's actually my actual office chair. But what I found is I use like this 1950s wooden smaller chair during these. And if you ever hear creaks and groans during this session, that's where that's coming from. And it's because when I do this, I don't want the big, the square leather chair behind me, or fake leather chair behind me. Let's see, what else do we have? So Steve, nice, gives illusion of being in front of a physical whiteboard or a projected screen. It's the whole idea, right? How do we set stuff up where we could do this? Now, you could go another route. Like, you could use a program like a whiteboard, right? Zoom's got whiteboards, right? You can use all those things, and Zoom's got it, and you use it. Great, use it. But you could go through and you can go and layer stuff on top of it. Let's actually pop back over here. One of the other tools, and it's a good point we can talk about at the moment, I use a program, if I can find it. Let me pull it up. All right, here, I'm going to pull it over so you can see it. It's called Epic Pen. It's a nice little add-on, and actually, yeah, that you can see it there. So it's a nice little add-on, and what's nice about it is I can make anything I can draw on a specific monitor, and I can go through and I can choose, I could do different shapes. If I needed to circle something, I could do that, right? And I have all those capabilities. So I think for a lifetime license, I think I paid $29. Not expensive, but it's a great little tool that makes it easy for you to do what you want to do. The other great part about this is, if I can turn that off. Okay. Let me come back over to my phone cam and look here. I can actually assign the controls of this to my Stream Deck. So as I'm going through, right, and coming back over here, if I want to, draw an arrow, I push the button that I called Epic Pen Arrow, and I can draw arrows to wherever I need to be. And then on here, I've created other buttons like Clear Epic Pen. So this top one. So I'll pop back over to the layout, and when I push that top button, it all goes away. And if I had really thought about this, ideally I would have had set up another camera and have it just showing, and maybe I'll do this one day, just dive deeper into Stream Deck, because I think Stream Deck is one of those ones, if you're going to do anything, this is one I would definitely look at. But I would, have that camera pointed directly at this, and you have it down in the bottom corner here so you could see it as I'm pushing it, and you would be able to do it. So I need to make sure I do that going forward. Let me see what else. The only downside of this Epic Pen, if you forget to, like I set it up so I click it once and I can draw an arrow, and I click it a second time and it turns it off. But if you forget to click it the second time, which I just did, and I was trying to pop something up over in the chat, I end up like I'm drawing arrows over on another screen. Do I ever use an avatar of myself? I don't. Well, you know what? I kind of do. So let's talk about that. So I don't use an avatar like, like an animated head, but I have the capabilities. Like if I wanted to be Shrek, I could be Shrek, right? Or this one is my favorite. If I could be a Viking, I could be a Viking. So how do I do these type of things? And again, I'm not saying this is like, we're not winning any Academy Awards, and it's not really necessarily to enhance the training material. Now, I wouldn't do something just to do, well, I would, but you shouldn't just do something just to do something. What I would recommend is if you're going to do that, if you're going to bring a Viking into your training, or, right, like if you want, talk about Steve and his scrolling newscast. Like maybe you're talking, it's time to talk about training or some developing news at the company. Great. Set it up so you have a scrolling feed like it's the news behind you. Give yourself a suit if you're like me and you're never, wearing a suit, do that, right? Or you have those capabilities. So try to tie the stupid things you do, like I do, to something specific in the training. So at least it's memorable, but it's also somewhat relevant, right? So how do I go about doing these type of things? I'm going to pop back over here to my desktop. And so you're going to see that, and here, let me make this bigger. So it's not an app that I use on my phone ever. I know like my oldest kids like it, but Snapchat, right? They have a filter or an add-in or a program you can install onto your computer that basically you can apply Snapchat filters, and I guess this is the thing kids do on their phones and their messages, that you can actually bring into your live streams. So what ends up happening is I feed my webcam feed, so that Elgato face cam that I use actually is fed into, and here, where's my settings? If I go into settings, right? So it comes in, my webcam comes into, just trying to make that smaller. It comes, webcam comes into Snapchat, or Snap Camera is what they call it. And I can I basically set this up to the feed that I push back into my virtual program. So the resolution in frames per second. But now I'm able to, with the click of a button, go in and apply any filter, right? So when I wanted to be the pirate, I can be the pirate, right? And I'm able to layer all these things in on top of it. So it's not an avatar, but it is a fun way that you're able to, bring in some other features into it. Let's say you had to, for whatever reason, you had to do a role play, or you were demonstrating a role play in a virtual program. So you're going to and you're going into breakout rooms, prior to breakout rooms, and you want to kind of show them what they were doing instead of being like, all right, person one, do this, person two, do this. Be like, you could actually visually make them look like it, change that over. All right, person one, you're going to talk about, you're going to go through this, and they see, one look. And then when you need to do person two, right, you could, and that one's really creepy, so I apologize, but you could then layer those looks on. So again, not earth-shattering things, right? You're not winning the Training Magazine's Apex Awards for this. But the idea for me is, how do we stop that stagnant screen? How do we stop people? What can I do to control the fact there's a high chance I'm losing people to their phone, to their other monitor, to their job duties that we haven't backed off time from. So let's see. Getting some audio latencies. Ever bandwidth concerns with all these tools? Absolutely. It's a great question, Steve. One of the things that can happen, or one of the biggest suggestions I have, is know your limitations, right? I wrote a post on LinkedIn this week for kind of challenging L&D leaders to say, we need to stop giving, and this was more geared towards, organizational learning and development, or governmental learning and development. We need to stop giving L&D people crappy computers. Like, you want people to do virtual training, right? You want them to be able to do Zooms and demonstrate software, or show their screens, or do all these things that's happening on there. Absolutely, the power and what your system can handle is important. What is your, what's your internet like, right? Like what's your download speed? What's your upload speed? Bigger one being upload speed, right? As we push more and more stuff through the bandwidth, it goes home. Are you at home, and do you have a college daughter who's probably streaming music upstairs, or kids playing video games at home? Like, all of these things matter. So you kind of have to know your parameters and test things out. And the other thing is that there has to be some sort of acceptance that some of the things that we do, it could be 100% perfect on our side. Our sound, our video, your upload could be ideal, but now we get into things we have zero control over. What's happening at Zoom? What's happening for this live stream? What's happening with Restream on their side and their servers, right? Is there lots of, where we're generally located? Is there something happening with the internet? Like, did Comcast are they having latency issues? And then what's the system that it's coming down to, right? What's their download speed? So there's so much that's outside of our control, but we need to consider what's inside our control. And this is where you want to do lots and lots of testing. But Steve, to back up to your point, the more we push into things, the more you push into your processor, you are going to have issues. And that's what as much as I like popping around, and I'm going to keep coming back to my Muppets, because this I'm just absolutely loving. But the more we do, the more things we do, the better chance we have of pushing just a little too far. But same time, like for me, I would rather push right to that edge and maybe sometimes hit it, because at the end of the day, it's still going to be memorable. Not saying it's going to be effective, but it will be memorable, right? I remember going through, I think it was the first time I went to do a training presentation at the Training Magazine, leading a session at Training Magazine conference in Orlando. And I was like, prepared. I still have my guidebook down. It's down over here near my feet. Like I don't know how many times I ran through it, and I'm like, all right, what's plan B? When all else fails, I'm going to get up and sing and dance. Well, not dance. I will do campfire songs because I can do those off the top of my head. And at the end of the day, it's going to be memorable, and hopefully it'll be effective. And if all people got out of it was like, hey, here's a nice way, here's a fun game to do out of it when things go wrong, they got that. Thankfully, it didn't go that way. But it's another great point. Always have a plan B. What do we do when things go completely wrong? Let's see. What else do we have going on? Andrea, is a Stream Deck only for live streams? I conduct staff trainings via Zoom and do switch between screens. It is not only for live streams. Actually, let's pop this up. Let me show this. We're going to get rid of that. I'm just going to put up a blank Word document just because it's a little bit cleaner. But I'm going to actually pull up the Stream Deck software. So what's nice about your Stream Deck is you're able to go through and you're able to program your Stream Deck. So this software, I actually have the ability on it. And actually, let me just close out this message. Each one of these buttons, if I was to click on it, so like here, this what I called number 3, that basically, it ties, and actually I'm going to just flip over. It ties to the button on this Stream Deck because I'm on the extra large one. But if I want to rename it, I can come in, I'll call this Cam 1. And actually, you'll notice on here, there's actually two, but like, what does it say when it's pushed? What does it say when it's not pushed? I generally, for things that I'm changing, I generally try to keep it the same. But if I now flip back over here to this, on my Stream Deck, it's Cam 1, right? So I can name the buttons as I need them for what those things are. And now I have it set to what here, this is a collection. So these buttons right now are tied into OBS, which we'll look at in a moment. And then it's to a specific scene within OBS. So when I push Cam 1, which I will do here, right? So we flip back over to the phone cam, but if I go and push Cam 1, it's going to bring us back to to this specific scene, right? And on this one, I know I've got buttons pushed up when if I want to bring my name and title back in, or, I want to bring back my treasure map, I have all of those that are tied to it. And those are all specific Stream Deck buttons. But the nice part on the Stream Deck is you have, in the software, if I click on this little program and pull it over and open on my other monitor, these are all the different things that are specific to, like, different items I could go into. So I could go into plugins, right? And let's, just an example, let's search PowerPoint, right? So I could install the PowerPoint tools. And if I've got these, and I just saw recently these had come out. So thank you. I'm going to put these into place as I need them. But now when I'm in here, on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the software, I can come in and find all the different tools. So like here, if you run Google Meets, I can tie buttons in that I want to, turn on my camera, turn off my camera, mute myself, unmute myself, and all have them right onto my Stream Deck. But here, so PowerPoints. So again, I haven't played around with this at all. You just saw I installed it. But look, I can load presentations. I can play. I can go to next slide, previous slide, first slide, last slide. So you have all those functionalities. But there are all these different tools that I use. Like this one, this Win Tools one. There's a way if you can set it up so you want to switch what you want to go from your headset to your computer monitors, or your computer speakers. You can do all those things. So there's so much that you are able to do with this Stream Deck. So that the smaller one, I want to say they now just came out with a newer version of it. I think it's 149. I think if you go with the If you go with the one that I have here, this one, I think right now, $129. And I would tell, no, without a doubt, I couldn't do what I do without it. Like, it was, of all the things, this one, other than, you know, having good sound for manipulation and just ease of everyday use, the Stream Deck's probably my number one tool. All right. Let's see. Can bandwidth get overload with too many tools? Yes. I mean, we kind of already talked about that, Steve, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to testing. Let me push a bunch of stuff up and let's see what happens. And sometimes it means it's like, you've got this and maybe you've borrowed your, you know, for me, I like borrowed my kid's laptop and was like, hey, I need to set that over on the other desk, right? What happens when I do these type of things? Or set something up, do a Zoom, have someone else sign in and see what happens. Let's see what else. Hi, Liz. Thank you for joining. Let's see. Choose and use tools wisely. Yep, that's good. Or you could go my route and be like, hey, what happens when we do this? And, you know, most of the time things, thankfully, I'm going to knock on wood, things haven't really gone completely sideways. Shadow puppets, absolutely. You know, can you make those looks? I got that look. Contingency plans for VILT is a secret sauce. Absolutely. And then even I still have, like, what's the base one? And for me, one of these days maybe I'll just do some campfire songs. Because that is at the end of the day, that's the one I will always go back to is, you know, not there's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza, but you get the idea. It's something like that. Generally with sync where people can then join in with you. Let me see. Andrea, thank you. This is cool. Glad. And any of these, if you want to see, you know, meet one-on-one and kind of talk about this, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know. And then let's see what else we have. Do you recommend being hardwired to the router versus Wi-Fi? Always be hardwired. You know, even if it means like you're running a cord. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but if you were to, because there's so much dog hair down there, but I actually have a cord that's running down, you know, my computer's, you know, in front of me right now on the floor. But so that's where my computer is. And I have my hardwire running underneath my carpet. Actually, here, I'll do it. I'll show you. It goes underneath the carpet, underneath the fish tank, up to the Wi-Fi router over there. And I realized I shouldn't have actually turned my back completely to the microphone. But that's hardwire is going to make the biggest difference. If possible, just in life in general, like if you have the ability to, you know, have someone come in and wire up your house, so not everything is being run off your Wi-Fi router. So like, or even at the big points, like where your TV's located and your Roku or your Apple TV or all those things, get all of those things hooked up. Especially if you've got kids, they will eat up your Wi-Fi power, your Wi-Fi bandwidth in a moment. Especially if you have 5 of them. So that's the other side. Don't have 5 kids. Happy tip for the day. Don't have 5 kids, people. Let me see. Am I going to do OBS training next? Sure, we can do an OBS one. That one I'm going to have to figure out the best way to go about it. Because here, if I jump over, and OBS is a great one to talk about. Because this is how I layer everything in. And one of the biggest things, as I'm showing my OBS, so I'm showing my OBS screen, which is, you know, all of here, let's use our Epic pen, right? If I can actually get this thing to draw, Epic. right? So for whatever reason, I can't get the Epic Pen to work at the moment. But this entire screen is OBS. But then behind me, that's the display of what you would be showing. But because I'm displaying what I'm showing onto the webcam, it starts getting this like, reflective mirror, and it just keeps going back and back. So it can be a little overwhelming. So I got to figure out the best way to get past that. But within OBS, and it's really a good one. So OBS, the easiest way I've been trying to explain it, it's like you're building a PowerPoint. You end up creating what they call scenes. And the way I have mine set up is on my left-hand side, I have my scenes. So right now which scene am I in? Right, and you'll notice I have way too many scenes in here. But let me jump here. Okay, so that's my office. Let me come back over here. All right, so I'm actually here. I'm in what I call my left monitor glassboard, GB. And so within this scene, I've got all these different sources. So like I could come in and I could turn on a source, which then at this point gave me the word key points, right? And I could drag that around and layer it where I want within my scene. So in case this being like a PowerPoint, think of each one of these sources as assets within there, right? Is it a shape? Is it a video? Is it a picture? Is it a color? And we're layering that scene out. So for me, a scene is really a live slide, right? And so as I turn different things off and on, and this is, again, why this whole, I got to figure out the best way to do it so you don't end up with, we don't end up with all this stuff showing sideways, right? I just dragged that one way too high. But as I turn things off and on, they're going to change. And what I end up doing is tying these, as I'm clicking them to show off and show on, those I tie to the Stream Deck. So one of the buttons, if I pop this back in, right, on here, these I can set them up. And if I come back to the OBS Studio one, is it a scene, right? So do I want to be on my glassboard scene or my office scene or a source within that? And so a source would be along the lines of, these buttons as I turn on and turn off as things show up or come away. And then as I click through this, and as soon as I click on something else, the monitor is going to change. But like if I was to come over, if I click this one, I'd set up to bring in a video. So it's showing this clip from The Last Castle, which I then realized after the fact that I got to figure out, like, can I show videos? Does that hit copyright information, right? Like, where's fair use, versus like they feel like I'm doing like that was to kind of drive home a point. I was trying to make a point with a quote from a movie, and then I decided I probably shouldn't do it. But, we can do OBS training, absolutely. Let's see, what else? With the Stream Deck, does it come with the Stream Cam? They may have a bundle that I bought them separately. But I do know when I was over and I was looking at it, so let's pull this back up. Right, so if I came back to this face cam, it's already, I think when I got it, I think I paid $200 for it. So it's already dropped in price. The other one that I would, if I wasn't using, I was between two. I was between this one and, where is it? Why aren't you typing for me? Logitech webcam. It was, the other one I was looking at was this one. So still same general price point. But those are the two that I would look at. But as for whether they come as a package, I don't know. They do. So the Stream Decks, and I can't really justify this one at the moment, but they also have a Stream Deck pedal now where you can set it up. And I think you have like 4 or 5 pedals so you can have it, we could be like hands free and pushing stuff with your feet. That actually for me, would be if I was trying to do some of this OBS, or not necessarily OBS stuff, but controlling what's happening behind me, let's say in a live event, and I didn't want to be using a clicker. But even then, I would probably still just bring my Stream Deck, as I'm trying to hold it up, bring my Stream Deck with me, because it's just a USB cable that connects it, and set that up on the monitor, and I would be able to control or do next slides and all that stuff that I needed or I wanted to control from it. But yeah, pedal, it seems pretty awesome, but I don't know if I can justify that one yet. What else do we have? Yep, my area looks like a bucket of snakes. Absolutely. Awful. Not yours, mine. But let's see, cool on the pedals, remote controls. Yeah, again, some of this stuff, like, I kind of set it up, and every once in a while I feel like I need to go back and look at it, be like, all right, here's how it was done, like how everyone was doing it 6 months ago, 9 months ago, 12 months ago. But I really haven't, I should go back and look at it some more, because like I said, it's the Wild West. And so new things and new ways are going on. And in a way, you kind of got to stay on top of it, right? And for me, it ends up, YouTube rabbit holes is kind of where I go. And, that's generally at like midnight, because that's where I can find some time. But it's definitely stuff we want to kind of keep at the forefront. So I generally try to go like a half hour, and I look, and we're already at 47 minutes. So, I could keep going on, but the big ones to circle back. And again, normally I have like, I got my button and I push it, and there's the takeaways and all that. My week, unfortunately, I just didn't have time. So I apologize about that. But, I would, first things first, know your system's limitations. And again, thank you, Steve, for that one. We want to make sure that we're able to, what we're projecting through, our system can handle. And don't feel bad going to your, L&D, to your L&D leaders and be like, I need this. Actually, one of the things, before I circle back, if I pop over here, right, and I'm projecting myself onto, I've put on my, putting myself without a background onto my desktop. Right? The way this works, and I'm going to pull over, right? Within OBS, I have created a scene called Webcam No Background, right? I just named it that. And so this is my camera feed fully, that I'm actually at the moment, I'm using the graphics card on my computer to strip out the background. It's not ideal, right? You see it, you can see there's some, pixelation around my head. You're able to, as I move my hand, a lot of times you can kind of see what's happening behind me. Think about any virtual, you use a virtual background in Zoom or Teams or whatever, right? But I'm using my computer, my graphics card to strip that out. Now, I'm not projecting myself this large without the background, right? So when I go to my desktop, and generally try not to have huge amounts of movement and all that stuff, it's a lot less. But one of the things I have, and I'm going to switch over, I have a green screen. I have a green screen, as again, I'm talking backwards. So I can now, if I come back to my office, right, I can put my green screen behind me. And I generally don't keep this up all the time. But where the times I want to have that much deeper background, right? So if I come back here, I'm going to come back into OBS. I'm going to go to my no web background, right? It's a lot cleaner. I mean, you can still see a little bit of green around me,
But using a webcam or a green screen, I can save processing power on my computer. So it's sometimes some of these things are trade-offs, right? Like how much can my computer handle? How much can't it handle? I'm just going to close this back up so you guys don't have to look at that. And so going back to it, is I would say is don't feel bad going to your L&D leader and be like, for what we want to do, I need a much more powerful computer, right? Computers computer equipment for an organization, it's a depreciable asset, right? And a lot of organizations are going to have where they have contracts and all these things. And just be like, here's what I need, and be able to talk to why you need it, right? You're doing Zooms. You want more. You want to be, even if it's just, I need to be able to show my screen and perform this computer at, demonstrate the software at the same time or show how to do this. That eats up your processor, right? So processing speed, RAM, all of that stuff matters, right? So first, long way of going about saying, know your computer, see about what you need to handle what you want to achieve. And then the next one, other than, jumping into a Stream Deck, work on your sound. Video's great. If your sound's crap, no one's going to keep turning in. And, watch some of my earlier videos, right? It took me a while to figure that out, to get some of the tool. Is it perfect? No. But big one, don't go through your webcam's microphone, right? I had, for the longest time, had been using the Blue Yeti, which was good. It's very good. But as I was doing this more and more, and eventually I actually want to start putting this, I want to kind of get a podcast where it's more discussions, right? Invite you guys on and we're able to talk about specific topics and do that in a podcast format. So I put more money into some of the sound stuff to get to the next level, right? So it's probably more than I need at the moment, but where I want to be in, 2 months, 3 months, it's what I'm going to need to do so. But yeah, so know your computer, look at your sound, look at that Stream Deck. If that would be kind of my order. But then, OBS, get it, download it. It's free. Play around with it. Just see what it is and what it sparks in your imagination, right? I'm not saying you don't need to make a moving Muppet thing, which I'm now going to probably spend the weekend trying to figure out how to do and get all Muppet clips and all that stuff. But then again, copyright, how do I figure all that stuff out, right? But what inspires you? How do you do stuff that, one, intrigues you and you think is going to make it memorable for the people attending, participating in your events? Again, for me, there's certain things I can control and certain things I can't. And I don't want to be dependent on the idea that every user knows how to spotlight somebody in Zoom, or how do we go and, have it so we're not sitting on just a slide or the slide with the gallery. And now you're trying to figure out who is talking, all of those type of things. For me, this is, this is a battle I will fight, right? Choose your, pick your battles wisely. For me, this is one it's non-negotiable. Like, I need to have movement because I know I'm losing people to their phone, to their other monitor. But that being said, what was 30 minutes, we're now at 12:55, and I've got a 1 o'clock meeting. So with that being said, folks, thank you. I really enjoyed this one, even though it wasn't scripted. Nelson, we'll dive into OBS. I think that's a great one. We also, what I've also been trying to do is I want to put out some more short form video, like short form YouTube videos. I actually just did my first one this week. So that's out there if you want to look, about it was geared towards Leader Guide Pro and Word and all that stuff. But take a look at those. some of these maybe, some of the stuff, you know, foundational type stuff may be better served in short form videos and kind of concepts and how do we, you know, I don't want to say inspirational, but like, hey, I didn't even think that was possible type of things more in the live stream. I don't know, like I'm still figuring this out. I actually think I'd like to have like a news feed type place into this too. Like it was like, you know, what's happened this week in, you know, in learning and development. And I think that one was just so, again, I could go through and where is it? I could put my suit on, right? I could do those type of things. But like new article gets released in like, let's say the most recent ATD, you know, magazine. Like, should we talk about those things? These are the things that keep me up at night. But again, I'm going to, I thank you again for joining, and I will see you guys next week. Anything you want to talk about, hit me up in direct message on LinkedIn. Here, let me give it, I actually have it, see, Stream Deck. There's my contact information. You know, give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm happy to help at any point. All right. With that, folks, have a great day and enjoy your long weekend.